Hello, I am doing my presentation on geothermal electricity. Geothermal electricity utilizes steam from deep that is gained from aquifers deep in the earth being heated by the lower levels within the crust, mainly around where the earth becomes a more molten than solid. So, with the heat from there, the steam will be brought into the stations in order to spin turbines to generate electricity. And the turbines are just used to turn mechanical energy or physical energy into electrical energy. The three types of geothermal plants. We have dry steam, flash steam, and binary cycle power station. I'm going to be flipping to between this slide and the next slide because I can't remember a thing for the names. Dry steam, which is on the far left here, takes in the hot well water up through, and it just straight up uses the steam in order to spin the turbine and uses a condenser which will release whatever steam doesn't get condensed and put the rest of it down back into the aquifer with surface injector. Uh, Dry steam is a bit of a issue though because it cannot use anything other than straight up steam. Unlike flash generator here, which will take up the water and put it through the separator using the steam to spin the turbine and putting the water that it takes back down into the surface injector and doing the same thing with whatever water was taken out of the condenser and the steam, whatever steam being left released. Now, the binary power station, it will take the water inwards and it will use it in order to heat up another liquid with a significantly lower boiling point, and then that liquid will be the one putting it right through, and it puts all the water back through into the aquifer using the surface injector. Just the only thing is this plant will be optimally for environmental and renewability, though its power is majorly reduced to about 10 to 7% of what it could be because of the fact that it's only using it to heat another energy, but it's to heat another liquid that's using the turbine to spin the turbine, but it does have the most renewability, and the flash steam generator ends up being the nice one in the middle. Geothermal plant produces in the US, it produced about 16.7 kilowatts of energy. And the cost produced by the energy is between 0.035 and 0.05 cents per kilowatt, as per what my recent research has given me, although there is some variability between the time that it was taken and area. So we have a geothermal plant right here, taking in the steam from its well over here and bringing it in to be turned into power. And this is more of a visualization on the right about how the actual pipes are there taking in the steam or the water steam mixture and going through with the exhaust, producing electricity and putting it back in the aquifer. So, renewability. Geothermal energy is an extremely renewable resource. It is really good because it just uses water that's in the surface of the earth, and it's even been used to purify gray water, which is just water like that we use for washing our hands or taking in the shower, and it's been used to purify that without having to necessarily go through the sewer system as it would normally. And then it also ends up putting more good water into the aquifer itself to be used to generate electricity. And even then, normal water can be placed into the reservoir in order to just make sure that it stays active as a generation source. So if your water level is running low in the aquifer, you just dump more in there and it will heat up and still be able to make electricity. Oh, sorry about that. So, this is just a very general thing about a plant going through and or taking water from an aquifer, putting it into a plant, and then it being released into like a lake, or using a lake in order to fill it, so then it's a self-sustaining thing system. This is just a well diagram, but it's a good way to visualize like the aquifer and how it's just an underground collection of water. History of geothermal electricity. Geothermal electricity has been around for a long while, even though it's only at that time it was only as simple as just bathing in a hot spring. It's still really significant for about 10,000 years ago. And it was used consistently as it was first developed in France-ish area in the 14th century as geothermal heating for the houses, and then geothermal was then in which used in heating in the USA for at in 1892. Christ, I can't speak. But you know that I'm gonna keep this all in one take because I've had enough. So here's just a hot spring and then just a geothermal heating or geothermal cooling as well. So it will end up taking cold air from it will end up taking in the heat and putting it where it's warm and taking cold and vice versa. So it will absorb heat through when you need it cold and it will exert heat for when you need it warm. Where is geothermal energy used? Geothermal energy is used in more than 20 countries. I've found a bit more of a consistent answer of like 24 ish, in between 24 and 30. But, and USA is one of the biggest generators for geothermal energy, and Iceland being the first one to use it consistently because of all of the volcanoes in the area. So they've been able to have a lot of reactive geothermal electricity because of the how close a lot of the molten core is to the surface there, so it's easy to use a lot of geothermal energy. Geothermal energy production, USA having about 28%, Philippines then in which having another 21%, Mexico with 10, Indonesia, India, Japan, New Zealand, Iceland, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Kenya, and other. And see, in here it says, uh, North America with 3.45 gigawatts, USA with 3.45 or 3,450 megawatts, Mexico with 10,017 megawatts, and all the way through. And these are all the different areas that use it fairly consistency within their consistently within their countries. So electricity, the environment, and society. Electricity and society. Electricity has shaped a lot of how we live life. Even what I'm doing right now, the fact that I am doing a school project by recording my voice on something that doesn't tangibly exist, it's mind blowing. And it's changed how we live a lot. So at this point, ending up shaping our society around electricity and how we use electricity into our society. So we have to be very careful when it comes to limiting and controlling how we use it. And then with society and the environment, there's been a lot of turmoil between trying to save it and people trying to let it go and say what happens. We have to save the environment because it's not just us that end up getting hurt by it in the long run, but it's everything that lives on this planet. So it's not just you, but it could be your dog, your cat, a animal that doesn't even live in the same side of the world as you. Everything's going to end up being affected, and a lot of and people already have been. Areas being affected more by droughts, and areas having issues with flooding and more inclement weather like hurricanes and tornadoes, all generally being caused because of our negligence with the environment. So, my second last point within this slide, electricity and the environment. Electricity and the environment, as much as we say that it can't work together, it very well can, because a lot of our ideas are things that we've already derived from nature. Photosynthesis for solar panels, going through and making things that can fly like birds, and utilizing different ways of like planting plants and using them for our own survival, like a lot of other animals like bees use them for the nectar, and we end up using them for the fruits. And how we go through and we make large structures to keep us safe because we know about how everything can affect us because of how how what we made everything so that it can protect us from what happens outside, whether that's using it like making flying, or using an electrical version of photosynthesis, or whether that be something as simple as using it to heat water like in a hot spring. It We end up facing a lot of what we make based off of something natural, even if it is ourselves, like how we think, how we end up making things that can calculate stuff within seconds, and how we do math just so we can end up making it easier, or how we can understand more. And in a perfect world, we can make electricity completely compatible with the environment and helping saving it, instead of ending up using it like with coal and basically killing it. How to make it all work is my final point, and it's a very delicate balance, especially with changing times, and along with the fact that you're never going to have 100% follow up with all of the issues. But being able to research and find ways that we can reduce or even remove carbon from our atmosphere, the amount of carbon in our atmosphere, is going to be a dead serious topic that we're going to have to tackle within the near future. And it should be something that we're focusing a lot more now. So we've got just some visual representation, because this is a slideshow after all. And that is the end. I hope you have a nice day after watching this dog pile worth of a video, and hopefully you can give me some feedback in the comments, and I'll get back to you because I'm required to.